But today I can't.
Why?
Because I got to talk to you guys.
No, bring your ass.
I didn't bring it. Oh, I didn't bring it. Yeah. I'm good. All right. If you guys have any questions while I'm doing this, feel free to ask. Just talk up louder. Basically, right now, I did it off when I drilled this. I did it off centered on purpose, just so you guys can sort of understand how shaping and everything else goes on. Because if I already did it, because unfortunately they won't give me a square bat. I ain't figured out why, but they won't. So. Yeah, you guys can come in closer if you want. It's not coming off. This is all locked in place. So it's not coming off. Alright, this piece here is what they call a bushing. Basically, that is the same size, depending on what manufacturing company you get it from, the same size as this piece right here. This just helps me speed up the process so I don't have to keep using my calipers or anything else like that. Because I have a bunch of calipers and I'll put a whole bunch of them together and next you know I got it too small of something on something. So that's what that is. See how before you really couldn't see the grain work?
Oh, yeah.
See how the grain work just all suddenly turns? This is why I wear a mask. One of the biggest things though with wood, it's real funny, depending on the grain work is how you want to approach the wood. If it's got wild grain, then you want to approach it with a little bit of caution because there's nothing that's going to keep that wood from biting your tool and sucking it in and everything else like that. So you really want to be careful when you're doing something like this. As long as you respect the tools and respect the machine and everything that's going on, you know, you really won't get bit. Now the reason it's making that vibration noise is because I took the tailstock off it, and theoretically I'm pushing too hard on this, and I'm hitting an end grain. This is what you call your side grain or your run grain, and this is your end grain. Your end grain is always going to be your toughest, especially in like oak or desert ironwood, teak, any type of mahogany or East Indian rosewoods, stuff like that. Any type of hardwood, you run into the end grain, you're going to have a fight, so you want to make sure that your tools are sharp. But since I was using my tools this morning, making some pieces, I forgot to sharpen them. So that's why they are doing what they're doing. Now, with this piece here, when you're doing an insert like this, you want to make sure what you want to do is you want to basically see if it's going to form right. Is this going to be too big for this? Is this going to overpower this? Is this going to overpower this? So you just want to fit it in. Obviously, I went too big, but I didn't like the size of this compared to this. This would be way overpowering this. You'd have to physically turn it over to look at the top of it. I mean, grant you, it's going to be sitting on top of a wine bottle stopper, but you want to be able to see a little bit of both. I'm not traditional, like with a lot of most wood turnings. I'm considered unorthodox, and I'm also considered the black sheep of the wood turning world, which is fine because I like it. So I do things differently. So I'm going to go ahead and measure this up, and then we'll go ahead and get into doing that. I already know what the measurement is because Denise and I had already talked about it. It's an inch. But for demonstration purposes, I had to do that. But since I don't like this size and I want to go ahead and take it off, this piece, this here is called a Jacob's chuck. That piece is only in there through friction and compression. So it will vibrate loose and shoot out. I mean, it's not like a bullet or anything, It's more like a high-powered bing bag, just that it hurts. No, it's not going anywhere now. There's a couple ways of doing this. For demo purposes, I'll actually shut the machine off because of safety. When I put the tip in this, since it's round, it's kind of hard to find the center. Everything, and anytime you're trying to find the center, if it's square, you're going to find the center. When it's round, it's going to be harder. So what I did is I purposely forced it into the bottom of it, so I knew exactly where the center was. So when I go to do this, I know that that piece is going to sit right there, because I know exactly where the center is. Alright, so if I really wanted to, I'd measure the half of the distance, stick it in there, boom, hit my finger. See how that piece is coming out?
You center that brace then in the middle of the circle where you want the tool to go, or where you want the stone to go, right?
Yes. Yes. And you can pretty much find center. I mean, other than using this. I mean, stick your tool in the center of the piece and there it is. It doesn't really matter where the center is, because 1 inch from out the center is 1 inch from out the center. Doesn't matter if you start on the outside, the middle, or the big, or the center of it. It really doesn't matter. Now, what I did is, when you're dealing with certain woods, ash is one of them. If there's a lot of moisture content in the air, which there was today, because it rained and everything else like that, it's going to affect your wood. Even if sealed wood, so like if you were doing a hardwood floor, you're going to put that hardwood floor in the room that you're going to be putting it in, and you're going to leave it in that box for at least a week or two, so it can acclimate to the climate that it's actually going to be in. Unfortunately, I don't have that because I only had 45 minutes. We're kind of past that, but so when I'm heating up the wood, it's going to swell, or contract, or whatever the moisture content is. So even though that was 1 inch that I put up there, my piece still doesn't fit. So I'm gonna have to take a little bit off, but you don't want to take too much off, because then you're gonna have to reshape and everything else like that, and then you just wasted your piece. And then you guys are angry. Oh, for safety purposes, you're not supposed to do that while the machine's moving. Now, I went a little bigger And the reason being is because you see how it's already swallowing it and everything like that? I want to bring it down. So when I bring it down, I'm going to lose that sidewall. So I may have to go a little deeper, but just not wider. If none of y'all understood that, don't worry about it. I didn't understand it either. That's all it is, sandpaper that's already pre-stripped and cut for me because I don't feel like taking the time to cut it. It's expensive though. I think that box right there, it's got like 4 or 5 different grits. I think it's like $22 for that, but you get like 20 feet per strip. So it's really not that bad, and if you know how to use it right, you really don't burn through it. But there's always a rule in wood turning. You're supposed to use sandpaper like it's somebody else's. You know, so you're really supposed to use sandpaper, you know. But if you're using your tool right and your tools are sharp, you know, you really don't have to worry about too much sanding. I did this real rough, just for, you know, trying to hurry and get through it. So I just want to make sure it's got a smoother finish. What's that? I know, right? I randomly sneak it in my dad's garden, and that's why we get big tomatoes. He doesn't know that though. Well, he does now because he's sitting back there. He'll be alright. Oh, that's another thing I meant to tell you. Don't ever, whether you are buffing, applying this stuff, this is a wax. Normally I don't use this, but obviously for tonight I have to. Or sanding or anything else like that. Yeah, I know, I can see it. It's like a cloud. Don't ever wrap it around your finger, because you will lose your finger. I mean, that's just common sense, but you know, there's a lot of people out in this world that don't have common sense. So all nice and smooth. Now, see how that's raised? All right. If I wanted to, I can take it. I didn't think about that one, did I? Excuse me.
You have a little instrument.
Well, see, I don't take pills very well, so that's how I get my fiber. Now, the only reason I have this tool here, that's no good, is because of the fact that, that'll fall. Because of the fact that I'm only moving that sandpaper back and forth, it creates circular scratches. You may not be able to see them right now, but when I put that finish on, that finish is going to enhance the grain work and everything else like that. So it's going to enhance any type of defect or marking or anything like that. This is a lifesaver because my wrist doesn't go in circles very well. So this piece actually turns. So you just take this pad, stick it on here. That's a poor man's mask.
I guess you have a wonderful exhaust system at home.
My 5-foot door and a fan. Yeah, I actually, you know, I actually have an awesome exhaust system, but I can't hook it up because my shop is so small. So, you know, that's why there's a 5-foot door and a hurricane fan that blows everything out. Plus I wear a mask and everything like that. I don't believe in a large overhead, so I try to buy all my stuff by cash instead of, you know, spending all your money and not making any money.